Welcome to another episode of BioNTX Presents, Inside Innovation, where we explore the people, companies, and ideas shaping the future of life sciences and healthcare innovation across North Texas and beyond. Today's episode is especially meaningful because it represents something we've wanted to do since the very first Rising Stars cohort was announced. This special edition of Inside Innovation is brought to you by the Davis Yost Group at Morgan Stanley, the presenting sponsor of the Rising Stars program. Through their sponsorship of this podcast episode, they're helping us continue telling the stories behind some of the region's most promising entrepreneurs and innovators. We are grateful for their partnership and for their continued investment in our community. Nearly 1 year ago, these four companies were recognized at the IC3 stage at our 2025 Rising Star ceremony. That recognition celebrated more than innovative technologies. It recognized visionary founders building companies with the potential to transform healthcare and improve lives. Today, we're checking back in. What has happened over the past year? What milestones have they achieved? What challenges have they overcome? And where are they headed next? Joining me today are four outstanding founders. Alex Pertsemlidis of SyntaxisBio, President, Founder, and CEO. Craig Shimasaki, Founder and CEO of Moleculera Biosciences. Chelsea Luxen, Founder and CEO of ParaNano Incorporated, Inc., right? And Mohammad, Founder and CEO of Telos Biotech, right? Love it. It is so exciting to see you all again. I think the last time we were all together, we were having dinner and celebrating your selection as Rising Star winners of 2025. And so today is really about catching up with old friends, hearing some new stories, and seeing where you are in your evolution and your process. So again, thank you all for being here. I usually shake hands, but we're gonna do air fist bumps to get this thing started around the room. Everybody, all right? Okay, so we're gonna break this up into segments. Segment 1 year later, okay? I'd like to begin with a question for each of you. Nearly 1 year ago, you stood on the IC3 stage as one of Texas's Rising Stars. I think I introed you guys on that stage, and there was a drum roll and everything. Looking back today, what has been the single biggest milestone or breakthrough your company has achieved since receiving that recognition? And I'll give you each a couple of minutes to respond to that, 3 minutes. Alex, let's start with you.
So our biggest milestone has been focus. We had a fairly broad and ambitious vision going in to address all of the problems that we saw with respect to cell line authentication and banking as it supports biological research. That was too broad. So we've narrowed our vision. This is now a much more direct application of the technology that my co-founders at UT Dallas have developed. It's led to better conversations with customers, better customer discovery. It's led to some additional funding through NIH in the form of a second phase 1 STTR award. And it's given us sort of a mission that is much more focused than the original vision, and that is to ensure that trust with respect to cell line authentication and how cell line work supports biological research keeps pace with innovation in that space.
Awesome. That is good news. One of the things, and you jump right out of the gate with it, is one of the endearing traits of a great leader is knowing when to adjust. You go into a game with what Mike Tyson say, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? But having the ability, the courage, and the fortitude to adjust. So thank you for sharing that. Craig, how about you?
Well, first, let me thank you, Eric, and BioNTX for acknowledging us and our colleagues here. You guys are doing a fantastic job here, and we really like your model with biolabs and how things are growing in North Texas, so we're taking note of that in Oklahoma.
Thank you.
The thing that I think is 1 year later is to realize that our platform technology, which is basically identifying that immune and inflammatory causes are an underlying root of many chronic disorders. Our current panel is for identifying neuropsychiatric disorders, but what we did was we realized and extended that into Alzheimer's. And what the world is really recognizing is that the beta amyloid and the tau entangles are an end product of about maybe 10, 15 years of an inflammatory immune-mediated process. And so what we're able to do now through our research program is we've identified about a dozen different inflammatory and immune-mediated markers that contribute to the development over time and then the frank diagnosis. So our goal is to identify patients prior to the diagnosis and before symptoms set in so that you can intervene more effectively prior to that. And so it's just another application of our ability to identify the functions of the immune system and chronic inflammation in the body.
Nice. I love that. Uncovering additional positive aspects once you have the courage to take the journey and start down the road. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. And thanks for coming down from Oklahoma today for this show. We appreciate it. Chelsea, how about you?
Well, one of the key things that I was focused on in my presentation about a year ago was that we were gearing up for clinical studies.
I remember.
We have enrolled first patients, and our product works as expected, which is such an exciting time for us.
Yes.
Not only are we building something that's completely new to the industry, new to the world, but there's been a lot of things that have had to happen to get us to this point. So I'm just beyond excited and also very happy with the team that we have built to push us into this next phase. And that's the other thing that, I'm really pleased with the growth that we've had this past year. We have added some really stellar team members to the ParaNano team. We're growing out of our current space, actively working on moving into a new space. And so, it's just sky's the limit. And thank you so much for having us as another Oklahoman who came down today.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome. Another benefit of this show and having you here is your success is our success. Your success is our success. Your uncovering of different ways to solve problems is our success. And it's the same here. So, and others feed off of that. So please know that there are people that are cheering for you. There's people that are willing to support you. And there's people that are saying, just keep going because you're an inspiration. So thank you for sharing that and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Mohammad, how about you?
It's been a really incredible year for us since the IC3 recognition. But if I had to pick the milestone that kind of catalyzed or sparked all of this, was we were able to close out our pre-seed round and unlock the CPRIT grant that it was kind of like a weight on our shoulder had been lifted because we had that money and we put in an excellent application, but we were just trying to race to unlock it.
Yes.
So once that happened, we've been off to the races. We've expanded our executive team. We've moved here to Pegasus Park, Biolabs. And
you're my neighbor now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, knocking things out one at a time. But if I had to pick one, it was getting the CPRIT funds unlocked for our product development grant.
That is great news because I think at our dinner, Christian Doyle.
She was there. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Offering support for the state of Texas, but she took time out to visit and talk about the great things that is happening with CPRIT. So that's great news and good news for our audience to hear as well. Stay diligent, stay connected. Stay a member of BioNTX Texas, and great things will happen. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, now we're going to transition to section 2. This section is what I'm calling the Founder Spotlight. So before we go deeper into your journeys, we've already gone, we can end it right here, right? We can end it. But before we go deeper into your journey, let's help our audience get to know each of your companies. You've spoken a little bit about it individually. So imagine you're meeting someone on an airplane or the infamous elevator, right? A lot of stuff happens in the elevator, right? Or at dinner or cocktails or what have you. And the question or the conversation comes up, what does your company do? So I'm going to put you on the spot. Each one of you have 60 minutes. I feel like a game show host right now, right? Do we have a bell, a ding, or something that we can ding with this with? And this is elevator pitch time, right? I know you guys ran into Natalie Lundstein from Alloy, and that's what she trains, in her cohort, or is the elevator pitch. So we're going to mix it up this time. Mohammad, we ended with you. We're going to start with you.
Sure.
We got 60 seconds. I don't have a timer, so we need to have a timer in your head. And give us your elevator pitch. Tell us about your company.
So, cell therapies are a new type of medicine and have really changed the way that medicine will be done or conducted moving forward. And the whole process of cell therapies is basically starting with the patient's cells, their own cells, and then developing these new types of medicines to tackle anything from oncology to autoimmune diseases. And through this process of cell therapy manufacturing, the cells need to be grown extensively to millions, if not sometimes billions of cells. And in that process, in layman's terms, these cells just get older and weaker. And this leads to very expensive therapies and often leads to poorer than expected outcomes for patients. And so we've developed a technology essentially to deliver, it's called Telovance, deliver this technology during the manufacturing process to rejuvenate those cells, make them younger, fitter, and more performing, hopefully expanding and making the therapies cheaper and expanding the pool of patients that can ultimately benefit from them. Awesome. And just the last thing is that we're not tied to one therapy, and so we're building a platform to hopefully work with all different types of cell therapies.
Here's an addition to that. Why should an investor or why should a customer believe in you as a leader?
Well, I can't say that I have the proven track record. Hopefully I will have that one day, but I would say that we do have the expertise, and we're building, it's not just about me, but we're building a team that's kind of built on three pillars that we've identified would really make this a successful company. The first is a scientific expertise. So it's myself, my co-founder, our former PI from UT Southwestern, Dr. Shea. We bring that to the table. But we're also recruited a CBO, Chief Business Officer, to bring that commercial expertise to drive home these licensing agreements and contract negotiations. And then finally, we've added, maybe some of you know him, but based out of Houston, Jason Bach, who's really well-known expert and leader in the cell therapy space. He's the CEO of CTMC, to our scientific advisory board to support the manufacturing part. So it's scientific background, commercial success, and manufacturing know-how and KOL. So that's kind of like the three pillars that we're trying to build here at Telos.
Awesome. Well done. Thank you. Greg, how about you? 60 seconds. Clock is ticking. Tell us about your company.
Well, we are a molecular diagnostics company that's focused on precision medicine. And what is that? Well, we have a three-tiered business model. We do medical blood testing for these chronic immune-mediated disorders, and they're focused in three areas: neuropsychiatric disorders that have been misdiagnosed, like ADHD, PANS, schizophrenia, bipolar, chronic depression, but they're really suffering from something that is triggered by the immune system, cardiovascular, and now Alzheimer's. And so we do testing from literally around the world on patients that physicians send, and we give the doctor the report, and then they change their medication and get well. The second aspect of the business is we collect all the bioinformatics, and we also have one of the world's largest biorepositories of all these specimens. The bioinformatics allows us to create algorithms to predict treatment efficacy, and the biorepository allows us to be able to identify new biomarkers for the future. And then the third area is really our target identification program. So these new disorders, or these disorders that have been misdiagnosed, need new treatments. And so from that biorepository and the bioinformatics, we actually identify targets for those specific patients. And so it's an integrated business model, and the lives of patients get changed remarkably. So we've tested now over 18,000 patients commercially on our first product. We just have some remarkable recoveries of patients who've been suffering literally, in some cases, for decades.
Here's the other additional add-on question. Tell us about your culture. What makes you special?
Well, we have a culture that we created because the biggest difference as far as successful companies is the culture, and it's a good predictor of success of a company. And so because we impact the lives of many patients and doctors, our goal is to give them hope. And so we have 8 core values that we have, and we set them. And our employees and consultants memorize them once a year. They get a free day off. And then we also have a core values team in which we actually have different types of events that we use to remind ourselves that it is those values that are going to be important in how we actually build and grow the company. And so it's one in which many people have come to work with us, in some cases even taking less salary because they want to be in the culture and have the opportunity to grow and excel. And so our goal is also to create leaders, because leaders are the ones who are going to change how things are done in the future.
Thank you. Very, very thoughtful architecture of how to build a company. I always tell people culture matters. You can have the best things in sliced bread, but if you don't have a culture that has the ability to replicate the initial desire, the initial vision, the initial spark, then that it won't last. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Chelsea, your turn.
Okay, so
60 seconds. 60 seconds, not 59, not 68.
I'll do my very best.
Thank you, Noah.
So at ParaNano, we are building a smoke detector, not the kind that goes in your ceiling, but the kind that actually goes on the body or a wound to identify when something is going wrong in that wound, i.e. infection. Medicare is spending nearly $100 billion a year on wound care, driven largely because of this infection. And it's widely recognized that the earlier you can intervene, the better. Unfortunately, the standard of care is clinical signs and symptoms, which are subjective, easily fallible, sometimes impossible to interpret because of multiple comorbidities. So we provide the wound cue, which is a flexible wearable nanofiber membrane, changes color in response to a biomarker secreted by the pathogens themselves to initiate that care earlier. So again, if antibiotics are the fire extinguisher that you're going to use to extinguish this fire, we're the ones who can help alert that there is even something there to begin with. So by shifting this intervention up, we are hoping to have a positive impact on costly negative outcomes. And, you know, like a lot of us, we're also a platform technology too. So focused on wounds care right now, but many vertical applications. Anywhere that early intervention is possible and needed is something that we can play in. And we've built and are building a patent portfolio around that too. So we're excited to change the way infection is detected for the entire industry.
I love it. So here's the add-on question. Tell us about the spark. Why this space? Why this vertical? Why this product?
Great question. So when I first started out my career, it was on the nanofiber side of things. So I had access to the ability to manufacture novel nanofiber membranes and all this great stuff. And my co-founder and I were looking for direct applications, and wound care came up as an option. And so we started to dig a little deeper into the industry, because we're not from wound care, but we are all human, and all of us are going to have a wound at some point in our lives, and hopefully it heals. But a lot of the times it can get complicated. And we realized that everyone in their life will at some point need wound care. There are a lot of major players in the wound care market, but there are a lot of very alarming critical gaps, specifically on infection. So we have a lot of Me Too products, you know, some really cool interventions, but there is a lot still left on the table. And then you talk to the patients themselves, some patients who have been bedridden for years because they have to offload their feet because they have chronic wounds on their feet. Diabetic foot ulcers, you start digging into the statistics of mortality rates, and it just immediately clicked in my head of, we can provide a simple tool that can be used across the board. Anyone with sight, regardless of their connectivity to the internet, anything, regardless of where they are, can use this to make sure that they are getting the care that they deserve. So we're empowering people. And that really, you know, I get goosebumps when I think about it. And just even the stories from our clinical study of helping patients and the providers who are taking care of them by alerting them that there's something going on that maybe would not have been detected otherwise.
I love it. I'm a big documentary person, and I was watching a documentary on King Henry, and medieval Europe could have used you.
No kidding. Indeed.
Medieval Europe could have used you. We'll put you in a Wayback Machine and send you back.
Definitely.
Because it was grotesque what he had to deal with.
Yes.
Alex, 60 seconds, not 58, not 69.
I'll try to hit that exactly.
We'll try to hit it precision is our goal.
So every breakthrough based on living cells rests on a single assumption, that the cells are what you think they are. And when that assumption fails, time and money are wasted and patient outcomes suffer. So SyntaxisBio and its partners, the co-founders at UT Dallas, took inspiration from the semiconductor industry, where counterfeiting was a problem, and developed a fingerprint that can be attached to a cell line that travels with the cell population through its entire lifetime. This cell fingerprint is robust, it is unique, and it is unclonable, meaning nobody can copy it. This has two features that current technologies, current state-of-the-art technologies don't have. It can protect intellectual property, and it can distinguish engineered cell lines from the parent cell lines. And this is critically important in a world where CRISPR-Cas technologies make it possible for every researcher to develop their own derivative cell lines. And the hope is that this technology can improve rigor and reproducibility in research that's based on cell lines and benefit researchers, companies, and eventually patients.
Love it. I love it. I love it. There's another aspect of that, the convergence of technology and biosciences, right? As you know, North Texas has historically been known as a tech corridor. And a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of tech insights and roads that have been worn that have applications to what we're doing in the biotech and life sciences. So you've got a great convergence of that thinking and expertise in your product. Tell us a little bit about what motivates you as a founder. What gets you excited about the work that you're doing?
Well, I can tell you historically, I've been on the research side. I've been working with cell lines for a long time. I've spent a lot of time thinking about how cell lines are validated, what constitutes validation, whether the cell line that I'm working with is really what I think it is. The big question that would really keep me up at least a few nights over the past couple of decades, and my co-founders up, was what's really in the freezer. And I like what you said about convergence, because this, I think, really represents a convergence of things from engineering disciplines with biology.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to see more of that, because I think there's more that we can learn from engineering thinking and apply in a biological context.
Agreed, 100%. And to all the young people out there, listen to what he just said. It's important. Thank you all for that. And I think everybody hit the 60-second mark except one person. I'm not going to say who it is, but you won't get a prize at the end. I'm kidding. But you guys were great. Segment 3, building the company. Innovation is exciting. Building a company, however, is incredibly challenging, right? I see a bunch of amens in the room and hallelujahs and all of that. What's the biggest hurdle you faced over the past year? It can be raising capital, regulatory pathways, clinical development, building your team, commercialization. It could be any of those things. But what has been the biggest hurdle you faced over the past year? And we'll start with you, Mohammad.
It's cliche, but I'll say, as an early stage company, it's always access to early stage capital from investors. So that's been the biggest challenge, and continuing to just keep that, foot on the gas for fundraising, but also trying to move the company forward in many different directions. In many different work streams, but moving together in unison. So I think the access and raising capital. I would also say, if I had to add another one briefly, it's not always just about the science. Oftentimes, I feel like we're learning that it's more than, if not as much or more important, is the relationships with partners, investors, mentors, the community. All of those are just as critical. So we're learning that as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That is a profound statement to make, and I think a lot of our audience, I had a chance to speak at UT Southwestern PhDs and all of that recently, as I have done the past few years, and I say that vehemently. The science can be outstanding, but if you can't articulate the core aspects of it, if you don't have the courage to do what you're doing now, this is being on television and being in camera to a lot of people is counterintuitive. But you got to build that muscle, because at the end of the day, I always tell people, regardless of your vertical, whether it's engineering, whether it's science, whether it's oil and gas or whatever it is, there's one constant. And that constant is people. It's human beings, and understanding the psychology, the cultural dynamics, and all of those things are equally important in this journey. So thank you for sharing that. Chelsea, let me come around to you on that. What has been the biggest hurdle you've faced and if there's no hurdles, that's fine as well. If you're just Olympic caliber and you just,
No,
just
there's hurdles. I think we could all probably find something.
Tell us a little bit about that hurdle or hurdles.
I can think of, 5 lessons learned even outside of the past year as a founder, but I'll wrap it up in 1 or 2. Is as a startup, it's a race to market all the time. It is a race, and it's tempting to make really quick decisions or to get stuck in that decision of like, this is such an important decision, and now you're having to think almost too hard about it. And so, finding that balance of making decisions quickly, making sure that the team is bought in, especially as the team is growing and it's not just my co-founder and I anymore, but making sure that everything is aligned with the strategy in the end game of which we're going to. It is aligned with our ethos and our core values, but is also not going to cause problems in the future. So there's like an actual strategy around it. So that's been an unexpected but welcome lesson to learn. Is like, we want to move quickly. We also don't want to move so quickly that we're not thinking things through as they should.
It teaches you a lot about yourself, doesn't it?
Indeed. Yeah, I love learning though. So,
And that's I always tell people, being a parent has taught me more about me than being a parent, right? Yeah. It's like, oh my God, let me look deeper into myself. Exactly. And then having the courage, and I mentioned this earlier, having the courage to self-correct. And there's an honesty in that, right?
Definitely.
Right? There's an attraction in that as you build a company. Alex.
So for us, commercial focus, learning that we can't solve every problem and that we shouldn't try to solve every problem. Learning what not to build, which is maybe a subset of that. Resisting the temptation that shiny objects represent. And learning that focus is actually related to value. And I think coming from a from a research perspective, those were challenging lessons to learn. I'm not sure we've learned them completely, but we're trying to integrate those lessons in what we do and focus on translating technology into a commercial product.
Focus is related to value. We're going to get that to our audience for free. Focus is related to value. That's pretty good. Thank you for that. And again, it's the same thing. It's an honest exploration of self. And I always, one of the things I always like to say, especially to young people, some of the biggest progress that I've made as an individual has been counterintuitive, right? It's the intuition is saying no, no, no. It's danger, 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 not in a irresponsible way, but when I burst through it and have the courage to stand up and face it and audit it and analyze it, good things typically happen. So, Craig, what about you, man?
I'll take a little step back at a higher level and say that it is 2 things. One is the constant evolution that you as a leader need to change over time because the organization needs different things as you grow. And then the recognition that for people in the bioscience and biotechnology, it's not a business with a lab. It's actually, when you combine business and biology, you actually create a business of uncertainty. And therefore, having the knowledge or the recognition of what I like to say, the unknown unknowns. You just don't know what you don't know. And then surrounding yourself with mentors and advisors, because many of these problems in biology affect business, the amount of money you have to raise, the people, the timeline, the deliverables. And if you don't recognize that you're really managing risk and a business of uncertainty, that often organizations will fail, not because the science is bad, but because of the need to navigate that. And so I've had the honor of mentoring a lot of biotech CEOs up in Boston. And one of the things I share with them, as you mentioned, the change occurs in you. We think we're trying to change the environment, but we're having to change ourselves because over time, the needs of the organization are different. Just like parenting, you mentioned, you can't parent a 2-year-old the same as you parent a 14-year-old. And in order to attract them to stay and be a part of the organization, you need to have different ways of interacting with them. So I think it's a broader picture of how you evolve and grow with the organization and how you actually manage the strategic implications of risk with biology and business.
I love that. I love that. As I always tell the audience, I'm a big documentary person. I've mentioned it before, and I'm always watching things about the cosmos, right? And the one thing that you learn about the cosmos and the internal mechanisms is that it's always in motion. There's certain basic fundamental scientific principles. You guys are smarter at that than I am, but it's always in motion. It's always orienting itself. It's always doing these things, and we are a product of those cosmos. And I think those attributes are what make good leaders and outstanding leaders like you are today. So thank you all for that. This is really, really good stuff, y'all. This is really, really good stuff, and our audience needs to hear this. So thank you. Segment 4, the Rising Stars Experience. The Rising Stars Experience. I'd like to spend a few minutes talking specifically about the Rising Stars program, one that we're wonderfully proud of, and we want to thank the Davis Yost Group and at Morgan Stanley for their continued support of this effort and platform. Looking back, and we're still in the look back machine. Looking back, did being named a BioNTX Rising Star actually change anything for you? Now be careful, you're on camera, so you can only say good things. Did being named a BioNTX Rising Star actually change, or I'll add, enhance anything for your company? And we'll start where we ended the last segment. Great.
Yes, actually, 2 ways. One of it is realizing that the ecosystem here in North Texas is really a similar type of effort as it is in Oklahoma, and that is innovation is everywhere. But it's the ability to pull all of the elements together and do it in a concerted fashion to help spawn these innovative ideas into companies. The other thing is I met investors, I met people like yourself, I met other entrepreneurs who we need that in order to learn and grow. And because of it, I think what we have also taken away from this is that we're just not state line divided, but we're actually an ecosystem of life science entrepreneurs trying to impact and make change in how medicine is practiced and bringing tools, diagnostics, devices, therapeutics to the world that need them. And without what we do, they're just going to be research projects. And so I think the recognition that collectively as a group and recognizing that we're all doing the same thing in a similar manner, but maybe we're just calling ourselves Texas and Oklahoma. Having actually come from my career started at Genentech in South San Francisco, so I'm not a native Oklahoman, but recognizing that innovation is everywhere and good people, there's a lot of good people here in the middle of the country that I kind of favor. So I think it makes it a little less difficult, I'm not going to say easy, but less difficult to actually grow and build something.
Well, we're grateful to have you as a 2025 Rising Star, and to all of those who may be listening from the left coast or the right coast, the middle of the country is no longer a flyover
right.
region.
That's
You
right.
better stop here and find out what's going on. Chelsea.
So, yeah, I mean, being a rising star has been amazing on several fronts. Everything that Craig has already said. I mean, the ecosystem, just able to come down here, be a part of what you guys have built and interact with other co-founders, CEOs, technologies, also just listening to other people pitch. I'm always learning. And so that's been hugely, impactful. But also, it was announced and we got to pitch and we got to do the investor dinner. I closed out my first official dilutive round of capital, and the last few $100,000 I brought in after we announced that we were rising stars. So that credibility is everything too, and just opportunities just like this where we are able to come together, share lessons learned, but also have a platform. It's just so imperative, as it's hard to work in a silo, and so sharing resources, and I just can't say enough good things.
Well, you're part of a family, and that's the
Yes.
thing about being a rising star, is that you're part of a family, you're part of an ecosystem, you're part of a network, you're part of a shared journey. So thank you for that. Yeah?
So being named a BioNTX Rising Star helped us with credibility, definitely with visibility, opened the door to at least a few conversations with investors. And it, I think, tied us more tightly to the North Texas community. I shouldn't say North Texas. I'm not trying to distinguish between North Texas and Oklahoma, and I think there might be some room here to expand the North Texas definition to include Oklahoma. I'm not sure how I would feel about calling North Texas South Oklahoma, but there may be
it's not that
conversation.
far. We just won't talk about it on game day,
On game day, yes, thank you.
Game day. I love that.
But credibility, visibility, opening the door to conversations, and tighter integration with the community, and all of those have been valuable. And it opened the door to us standing up our wet lab operations here at Biolabs Pegasus Park.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
we're very grateful.
There'll be more on the Texas and Oklahoma conversation on the behind the scenes episode. I'm kidding on that. So tune in. Mohammad, how about you, brother?
I would echo the same sentiments from earlier. It helped us close the pre-seed round. Our investors were based out of the UK and the Bay Area, and it kind of, as soon as it was announced, we forwarded that email to them, and then we started to continue the conversations, and it just give them some more social proof, and give us more legitimacy, and I really feel like it helped us close the deal for that round, the pre-seed round.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That means a lot. I really wanted to have this question in here in this segment because there's a lot of people behind the scenes. We talked about our valued sponsor, but there's other people behind the scenes, and this means a lot. There's a lot of thought that goes into making this program work, and so your kind comments, but your actionable results really make a difference, and it's inspiring for the next round of winners as well. So thank you all for sharing that, and a big raha from our audience. Just keep going. All right. Segment 5. We've got one more segment after this, and then we'll move along. The North Texas Innovation Ecosystem / community, Oklahoma included.
Thank you.
Oklahoma, our brothers and sisters to the north of us, endearingly included. Each of you has chosen to have a presence in North Texas, right? I have to reword how I wrote this originally. How has this particular, and you kind of touched on it, so you don't have to go too much deeper, but how has having an ecosystem like this really helped you? And just give us a couple of points on how that's helped, whether it's having a shoulder to lean on, whether it's having office space, right? Whether it's having some of the wraparound services, workforce development, IT protection, all of these things that we try to bring our members and supporters. But how has this ecosystem help your company to grow? And then a second part of that, what advantages do you see relative to being here? Okay, I'm not going to say anything about the other markets, but relative to being here. Mohammad, we're going to start with you and work our way around the table this way.
Sure. This ecosystem is everything for Telos. There's no Telos without this ecosystem. A big plug for UT Southwestern. The technology was born there, spun out of there. It grew there. Our clinical collaborators, our early proof of concept data, the name recognition that we were able to garner for our first pre-seed investment a couple of years back, it all came about from that. And then I would say to the second part of your question, the benefits continue, right? So it wasn't too much of a change to move to biolabs, to graduate from that space, to come out here to be on our own. It was a pretty smooth transition. So hopefully it continues. And every time there's a recruiting event, we're there. We've hired locally. We hired from UT Southwestern postdocs and scientists. And so it's been incredibly valuable to us. And then, of course, I see you in the hallways. I see folks like you in the hallways. They've got the nice setup here with Pegasus Park. It's the beginning of something wonderful.
Say what you just said about where you hired from. Say that one more time. Where'd you hire from?
Not, just giving you BioNTX a plug, but when BioNTX holds their career events, we're there. We often see postdocs, scientists from UTD, UT Southwestern, and they're excellent caliber.
Yeah.
So, and you also see other folks who have moved here from the coasts who are, they want to stay in biotech and they're trying to find a job. So you can recruit some excellent people.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. And that was unprompted. That's not in the script. That was extempore. It was unprompted. It was prompted, but it wasn't scripted. So thank you, Mohammad. Thank you for sharing that. And we have some great young talent here. Great young talent. Alex?
So we've talked about how biomedical research depends to a great extent on cell line work, on cell lines. Texas, interestingly, punches well above its weight with respect to cell line development and cell line collections. I can think off the top of my head of a number of collections across the state, but there's some major ones here in North Texas at UT Southwestern, for example.
Yeah.
There's also the research expertise that goes with that. Cell line collection by itself is one thing. A cell line collection with decades of expertise, ancillary data collected on the cell lines, how they respond to drug, what the sequences look like, RNA expression profiles, DNA sequences, other characterizations. All of that makes that collection even more valuable. Couple that with commercialization experience and expertise, which is well represented here in North Texas, and the infrastructure to allow an idea to be translated from a bench outside into a commercial venture is incredibly valuable. You need all of these pieces. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how good the idea is that's developed in the context of the research lab. It's never going to help a single patient. Someone has to be able to translate it out of the lab, and the infrastructure here is a significant enabling platform for that to happen.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Chelsea?
So when we decided to join, obviously from Oklahoma, I've been in the Oklahoma landscape, the life sciences landscape, the entrepreneurship landscape for over a decade. I know Craig has as well. And so, when we were approached, and I went to my first IC3 because it was close, and several years ago, and I just wanted to go, and I knew that some Oklahoma folks were going to be there, so it was very impressive what had been built and what was continuing to be built. And so at that point, I was looking at what we are working towards in Oklahoma. And I thought, what a great way to leverage what is available to me as someone who's building her company in Oklahoma with this wonderful group down in Texas who is very welcoming and very open to having outsiders out of the Dallas, Fort Worth, North Texas area to come in and participate. And I've been a part of other cohorts of companies on, from other organizations, and I just felt like this would be such an opportunity to not only grow my network, but gain access to what you guys have already established. So like the career fairs, having access to things like the IC3. When I was having trouble looking for clinical study sites, I reached out to, the director, and she put me in direct contact with people. And so just that line of communication into an area that is close by, but otherwise I wouldn't have been able to have access to as efficiently. And so it's been very, very helpful for me to continue to grow my business, but have access to this ecosystem.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And have I mentioned we love our brothers and sisters in Oklahoma?
Oh, for sure.
Have I mentioned that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep mentioning that. I'll keep mentioning
No,
it.
we're happy.
Craig, how about you?
Yeah, on that note, I think it was mentioned about collisions or impromptu collisions that you don't really plan, but you actually end up identifying. You mentioned IC3. I know people from Boston and the Tremere Institute who come to there, and so you get the cross-pollination, people from Oklahoma. But one of the things that came out for us, which was someone who heard the pitch that I had at the dinner, was a clinician in another group from the Dallas or the Texas Children's Hospital. One of our second programs is the immune-mediated cardiovascular issues. And for children, these are things like myocarditis, cardiomyopathy, and heart failure. And so we've had a number of conversations with them about accessing specimens from them and being able to use them in the validation and development of our autoimmune cardiovascular panel. And then putting them in touch with those at Children's Hospital in Oklahoma who are also working in similar areas, because a lot of times these children end up with having to have a transplant if they're not caught early and if there are no interventions for them. So I think it's these unplanned collisions that allow us to connect with each other. And your organization is so welcoming that it does make a difference, and we go back to culture. And I like to share that it's easy to transfer plans from, let's say, anywhere, but you can't transfer culture. And the culture is such where often you'll find people who will help or participate, whether or not there's anything in it for them, because it's going to be for the greater good.
Yeah.
And that's the type of environment that actually makes these things work.
Yep.
So I think that's something that really we've all benefited from, and we want to continue to grow together as as if there really are no borders and no really state lines, but we're all in this for the same purpose, and we look forward to working together.
Thank you for crystallizing that. We take great pride in that all hands on deck, greater good mentality, and it's real. We entertain and have lots of people coming in internationally, people from around the country, and when they come and interact with our ecosystem, they consistently say the same thing. You guys are different. It's a different kind of vibe. You actually care about the greater good. You actually enjoy what you do, and it's real and authentic. And so thank you for sharing that. This is good. This is good. This is why we wanted to have this segment. So thank you all for this today, or have this show. As we begin to wrap up, we spent a lot of time looking back, which is good, and working our way forward. Let's fast forward now. Let's fast forward maybe 12 months from now. And I do want to do this again. You guys will come back, right? You guys will come back?
Sure.
Awesome. Let's fast forward 12 months. If we're having this conversation or a similar conversation, or if we're having confetti because you guys have all exited.
Hey.
A big confetti conversation, and David Yost is handling your financials. So if we're having this conversation again next year, it's going to be a two-part kind of question, so stay with me. What would success look like for your company? And also, a lot of our audience is investors, researchers, entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, and ecosystem partners. Is there a partnership, an investment, or collaboration that you're currently looking for? So what does success look like for your company? And currently, is there a particular collaboration, investment, or customer opportunity that you're currently looking for? And I can repeat those individually, but I hope it's okay to wrap those kind of together. And Mohammad, we'll start with you and work our way around again.
Sure. In 12 months, if we're able to, if others, our current partners, are able to validate our technology in their hands, in their processes, that would be huge for us, because that really just shows that what we've built is legitimate. It's not just working in our own hands. So, and we've started those, because that basically ties into your second question. Yes, we're actively looking for partners, CDMOs in the cell therapy space, cell therapy drug developers, and then leaders in cell therapy and academia. So any types of collaborations like those and partnerships that would really drive us to be a commercial company in the next 12 to 18 months with a licensing deal is what we're looking for. So that validation is key to us, and I'll be on cloud nine if we get the same type of data that we're getting in-house with their scientists in their process.
Awesome. So we'll have your contact information, website at least, as a part of this episode. Is that the best way to get in touch with you? Visit the website, or what's the best way to
Yes,
kind of reach you?
the website, and then of course, we were at Bio last month. It was last month, yeah.
Yeah, last month, yeah.
The summer flu. But yeah, we're at all of these major industry conferences looking for these partnerships.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Alex, how about you? What does success look like for your company, and are there any partnership, investment, collaboration, customer opportunities that you're actually looking for? 12 months, fast forwarding.
Looking forward 12 months, success looks like pilot partnerships with cell line developers and cell line repositories to establish a number of different things related to our authentication technology and our cell line aging or clock technology. Adoption of the technology by individual labs, researchers who care as much about what they're working with as we worry about it, and trust in our platform. That what we're delivering as a biosecurity primitive or an authentication standard actually works to improve rigor and reproducibility and trust in authentication methods. With respect to ask, if you're working with cell lines and that work depends on knowing exactly what cell line you're working with, we'd love to hear from you.
Website the best way?
Sure.
Is there an alternate way?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll have your website on screen.
Perfect.
We're going to flip this. We're going to go. You?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's actually being able to identify patients earlier in medicine. So may not happen in 12 months, but it'll start moving the needle. On average, the patients that we work with for our first product is that they spend anywhere from 5 to 7 years trying to find an answer for why they have these neuropsychiatric disorders. They've seen an average between 5 to 15 doctors, and they've spent up to $100,000 on psychiatric medications and treatments that haven't worked, to find out that it's really triggered by an infection, that the inflammatory process in the brain is what's causing it, and it's not deficiency of any kind of neuropsychiatric medication. So our goal is to catch them early and be able to impact change, because they suffer pretty significantly, and some of them unfortunately have taken their lives by suicide.
Yeah.
What's the ask? Well, because of the need, we've actually tested over 18,000 patients worldwide before we've ever added a salesperson. So they're really looking for us, and when they find us, we're able to help them, and their lives are changed. The next step is on the business side. We're actually hired 5 part-time salespeople in the first quarter. It grew 15%. Second quarter, it's 35%. We're third quarter, we're anticipating 100%. And so we're trying to fill out a $2 million angel convertible note that'll allow us to raise an A round of $25 million from an institutional investor by the end of the year or first quarter next year. And so anyone who comes in now will get the benefit of that bump in valuation. And that way we can also show the institutional investor that this is scalable. It's not just something doing really good things, which it is. and generating revenue, but it's something that they can count on scaling and growing and all these other products and targets for therapy. So that's the ask, and if people want to know about that, we are still open on this convertible note that's been oversubscribed.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you've got patients looking for you, and hopefully you'll have investors looking for you, and they can find you on your website?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that, and congratulations. That's
Thank you.
That's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. So you get to close us out.
Hooray!
Close us out.
So in 12 months, I will be so happy and consider the last 12 months a success if we can all move into the expanded facility that we have been working on for the past 12 months, it feels like. So aligning my entire team from manufacturing to officing all in one building is going to invigorate the company we already have a lot of life, but I just feel like it's going to really accelerate things for us. Also, help us with the expansion, adding to our inventory, and getting into revenue would be awesome. So we're close, which is really exciting. Our ask is, we're looking for early adopters because we are so close. And so, early adopters, people who are interested in partnering, trying our product, partnering with us on white papers, research is always welcome. We're also open to the strategic partners of it all. So, we're open to playing and potential integration or distribution agreements, things like that. So, website's a great way to get in contact. You can throw my email up there too. So I'm excited to hear from people.
Thank you. Today for me is one of those days to where I really, really, really enjoy what I do. It is an honor to have you on the show. For whatever it's worth, I am so proud to share this phase of the journey with you. You encourage me, and it is my hope that your companies achieve the success that you desire. It is my hope that the patients and those whose lives you impact, you reach them in a profound way. And so we're just grateful for your journey. We're grateful for your courage. We're grateful for your expertise. And with that, thank you for being on the show. And we're going to do a collective fist bump to everybody. Boom. And we'll see you guys down the road and hopefully see you at IC3 this year coming up in September. Yeah. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What an incredible conversation. Congratulations again to each of our 2025 BioNTX Rising Stars. It has been inspiring to hear how your companies have grown over this past year, and we look forward to learning more. A special thank you to the Davis Yost Group at Morgan Stanley, presenting sponsor of the Rising Stars program and today's episode. Your support matters greatly. If you're watching or listening today, simply scan the QR code on your screen to learn more about BioNTX or about the upcoming IC3 Summit. Thank you for joining us on this episode of BioNTX Presents. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, share this episode with your network, and we'll see you next time. Until then, I am Eric B. Moore. Thanks for listening, and be well.